We're going to be talking about creating an AI-ready workforce. And I want to welcome up Anand Narayanan. Is Anand here from Simplilearn? Hey, there you are. Hi. And let you welcome up the other panelists, Ganguly from Antwalk, Priyanka, Arya from CENTA, and from Apna, Karna Chokshi.
So people keep talking about AI taking jobs. What they don't tell you is how there are people like us who take over moderators' jobs. Today the moderator is sick, so I'm a panelist and a moderator. And I welcome the panel here and myself here as a panelist as well to talk about this very important topic. How are we going to create an AI-ready workforce? But before we start, a quick introduction. Maybe we'll start with you and then go this way.
Hello. Hey everyone, I'm Karna. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Apna. So Apna is we are India's hiring and careers platform. We started 2019, have grown to now 50 million users and over 500 enterprises and 2 lakh plus SMB organizations use us for their hiring. And also we are helping people get upskilled through their own network. So that's what we currently focus on. And yeah, excited to be here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. My name is Ganguly. I'm the founder of Antwalk. We are an enterprise learning platform. We help humans succeed in the age of AI.
Hi everyone, I'm Priyanka, Director and Chief Operating Officer at CENTA, and we are a teacher certification and connecting them to opportunities platform, one of the largest in the world, and this is a very, very interesting topic for us because teachers are not just, as in teachers train the workforce, make them AI ready, but they are also a workforce in themselves. So very, very happy to be here.
And I'm Anand. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Simplilearn, and sort of two hats on. One as an employer of product and tech and folks in operations and looking at what AI is doing to those roles. And the second is an enabler for companies where we actually work with companies to help them actually upskill and get ready for all these sort of breakthrough technologies that are coming through and help individuals upskill as well. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start with a slightly provocative question. There are those who claim that AI is going to take away millions of jobs, right? And there might be some believers in this room as well. What is your unique perspective to that? Are jobs in danger? Should companies be worried about having to downsize their number of employees or feel good about it? Unique perspective. Why don't we start with you, Priyanka? And of course,
Sure.
You're on the education side, so that applies to education systems as well. So
Yeah.
let's start there.
So just to give a brief context of this, there are 100 million teachers in the world, and the shortage there are multiple studies on the shortage, but few authentic studies put the shortages to 70 million. There's a 70 million teachers shortage. So if AI is able to bridge that gap to a certain extent because they are able to do something in the teaching space, I think that's a very, very welcome move. How effective AI would be in isolation to take those jobs is anyone's guess. What we are looking for is AI to support the teachers to bridge the gap. So AI taking away jobs is definitely not the case in the space I'm working for the teachers.
But maybe just before we go to Ashutosh, one question, it's always this interesting question. Is there a time or a place where AI becomes empathetic enough and aware enough to start becoming equal of a teacher? What's your view on that? Is there a time coming for that?
So as I'm saying, there is a huge shortage, and the things which students need in current environment, they need empathy, they need a coach. They just don't need someone who is teaching them the basic technical skills of math, science, etc. Just the knowledge, just the facts. That's not needed as much as someone who is empathetic to them, someone who understands them. And we want that individual personalized support to the students. So if AI is able to reach to that level, that again is a very, very plus in this space.
Thank you.
No, perfect. I mean, adding to that, teachers is definitely an input variable to the whole ecosystem. But at a broader level, and I was just talking to the panelists also before this, the way I think about it is every technology change actually increases the number of people who take advantage of it. When there were horses, there were only so many people who used to be, helping people drive, horse-driven carriages. Then came cars, and there were way more number of drivers. Post that, there was, mobility, shared mobility, then you have even more number of people today who are driving those cars because you have more use cases to do. So what AI is doing today is it is taking out few of these repetitive automated tasks, but it's also giving an opportunity for a lot more people, lot more enterprises to come and play, lot more number of players in different segment. So what we foresee in the market here is that some jobs are definitely going to keep going up, especially the ones that are more human-centric.
Yeah, so I think I'll add on. Very simple statement is no, I don't think AI will take jobs away. AI will definitely remove all the repetitive work which humans have to do today. What that means is humans will have time to focus on what is human, right? The human judgment, the empathy, creativity. I think those will constantly push the boundaries. And it's also a time frame thing. In the short term, yes, certain industries are going to be disrupted. Like customer success, for example, right? Like there are short-term disruptions which are going to happen, but those are not new. He highlighted the example of horses, right? At some point, humans built wheel, and transportation even began from a beginning of wheel versus this were the same questions people were asking during automation in manufacturing. But now we don't talk about it because it just creates a different type of job opportunities in the market. In the short term, definitely it will disrupt certain industries, but that brings the owners to, I think, a lot of people here who are into the education space, that reskilling your teams, people around is going to be important so that we make sure that the opportunities continue remaining there.
Just from my perspective, I think I want to double up on what you guys said. But what I find is that every time a big disruptive change like this happens, what happens is for a short while, roles do get threatened. And so I want to separate jobs versus roles, and these are very different things. Jobs is just what's the sheer number of people who are employed. And roles is what are the specific types of jobs that are at risk. And I think the answer is sort of twofold in that sense, that I think jobs are going to increase actually. But my specific view is that specific roles are in danger. And if you think of a game where you're going through levels, you just leveled up, right? AI has just gotten you to a different level at this point of time. But when you get to that new level, it opens up so many new job opportunities as well, right? So now if you're stuck at a level which is 3 levels below, yes, of course you're in danger and you've got to upskill yourself and come up. And one supporting data point I'll share is that in the last year and a half, the amount of business that Simplilearn does on AI is astounding, right? It used to be data science, it used to be project management, used to be a lot of other topics that used to be the big seller for us at Simplilearn. And just look at the last 1.5 years or 2 years of data, and AI is in huge demand, both on the enterprise side and the individual side. So the good news is, if you look at how humans are actually reacting, people are reacting to this. My assumption is people who are maybe 2 or 3 levels below the current level are doing what they have to do. They're taking those courses, they're taking the structured learning that they have to do, and they're getting upskilled, right? So there will be a lag. There'll be a time with which people will have to catch up to the current norm. And when they get to that place, I think there'll be more opportunity than not. I also do believe there is an aspect of education that comes into place. So I think at some point of time, to get there quickly, to make this gap really, really tight, I think the education system has to help get us there. And I think it is both structured learning through schools and universities and sort of a little more unstructured learning through platforms like ours, right? So I think that will be a very important thing for us to keep in mind. But thank you. Let's move on to the next question. So as you think about what employers should think about in terms of AI and how they should go about it, what are some things? One question that I think employees always ask is, where do I get started? What should I do with this whole AI thing that's coming my way? And a lot of people are pretty lost, right? So to create an AI-ready workforce in your spaces specifically, right? What have you seen are some of the best things that you've seen? What are some of the best practices you've seen? What can we do to be ready? And maybe we'll start with you, Karan, this time.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll break down my response in 2 ways, right? One is internally, if we are a company and how we are actually operating, and then what you do for your customers, right? So internally, what we have seen, what we are operating is, so we are a job hiring platform. We match users on skills, enable skill-based hiring. So a lot more data work goes into it. Now, earlier, a year ago, we were building all these models just on our data. Then what we realized is, hey, we don't need to do that. We now use OpenAI data of the skill graph, and then we augment the data on Indianization context of what we only have. So I think as you said, I think we have all moved to level 3 very quickly. And so internally, what I would recommend every company is make sure all functions, so sales, customer success, tech is very obvious. They all are using AI. They're just not theoretically reading about AI. What I mean is, if we are a sales team, yesterday we did a pilot with our sales team on lead gen. To give you in context, it's not just tech. While we focus AI on tech, what we give says, hey, here are 20 customers. Here's the pitch we give 20. We asked AI, can you publish me a list of 500 such customers with customized pitch on this? It gave us a lead of 500 more customers like that, customize the pitch, and then the question to the sales team, okay, how fast can we execute? So think about internally, every team of yours is actually using AI in their own field to augment themselves. And it's not that everyone needs to learn data science. It's using the tools smartly which are powered by AI. And that's what augmentation means. And externally, what we have seen is, as a recruiting platform, we have now shifted our focus for recruiter who is spending 80% of time today on interview scheduling, sifting through resumes, organizing the data, and they spend only 10 to 20% of time on actually understanding the candidate. We are trying to shift. Recruiters should only spend time on the human part of it, on how this person thinks, how this person is the right culture fit for your company. Skill assessment, interview scheduling, matching of resume is all the things which, as a business, you can optimize for your customer. So look at what your customer spends time on, figure out which tasks are not value added to their core need, and leverage AI to actually solve that for them. And that's what we have been doing at Apna, and recruiters love it because now they feel that human, the creativity, the real skill which they are hired for is actually getting used more, and it's very, very empowering for even the customers right now.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Right. No, so this is what we do for living at Antwalk. We help enterprises build the human capabilities in line with their business priorities. So let me break it down into 3 parts, the way we are both hearing and executing it on ground. First thing is, what doesn't change? Any capability building exercise that you take, do not reinvent the measure of success. The measure of success yesterday, today, and tomorrow continues to be, it has to have an impact on revenue, cost, and compliance. Anything else is just a good PPT. First, that's the benchmark. If it does not impact revenue, cost, or compliance, I've worked for very long in McKinsey. I've realized that there is no 4th variable that has come in business. That's first. So that doesn't change. Now what changes? What's your opportunity? What changes is, anytime there is a technology augmentation, the impact of standard deviation of stupidity reduces. What it means is, the same person, and you plot their capability, augmented with technology, their net output standard deviation reduces in some things, right? So the first thing that we are talking to our clients is, what are those things where today there's this whole thing, Copilot has come in, like you was talking about, prospecting Copilot, that, I can get a list of prospect, or pitching Copilot, where I can get a pitch document. That standard deviation, even for a consultant making an issue tree, it's much easier today to make an issue tree using ChatGPT and others. The difference between a tier 1 and a tier 3 consulting firm would come down. But what is now changing is, because that has now become a staple stake, what are you doing extra? For example, we extensively work in financial services in India. 10 years back, the mobile app of a tier 1 bank in India versus a tier 3, tier 4 bank in India was significantly different. Today, there is hardly any difference. So what it means is, whether you are an SMB or you are banking for your personal reasons, if the person you are dealing with is not giving you the services, doesn't matter how big the bank is on the other side, they're likely to lose that business. So that standard deviation of stupidity has reduced on things that got automated, but it has significantly increased in terms of the standard deviation in terms of human service. And we literally saw this data at different points. For example, that brings me to the third question you asked, where do you get started? We are advising all our clients to start with your first line managers. Why? First line managers are at a very, very difficult situation in India today. If somebody is of my age, I'm in my mid-40s, people who typically work with me day in and day out are mid-30s and above. So they are from a generation where it's accepted that till 50 years of your age, you will come to office, you'll have a fight with your boss, something will happen, life will move on. But not for somebody who is between 20 to 25 years of age. That generation, which reports to that first line manager, is facing that tremendous problem in terms of capability in the age of AI. And there are two things that's happening. In the age of AI, at a personal level, the dopamine hit is so high that this person wants everything now. The attrition rate in financial services in India is close to 66%. 2/3 of the entire new generation of that 21 to 25 is churning out every year. And there is an 80% correlation between the first line managers' people-centric report and the attrition. 80% correlation. I've seen that data across insurance, across lending, across AMCs. And now we are also starting to see that data in manufacturing. We're starting to see that data in healthcare. We're starting to see that data in manufacturing. We're starting to see that data in TMT. So where to get started? I have a very sharp answer there. Start with your first line manager's capability building. That's that branch manager, area manager kind of people, or your field sales plus team lead kind of people in insurance, or your manufacturing setup, your manufacturing technical floor manager, that level. Because they need to know about technology and they need to manage a set of young minds who have the attention span of Donald Trump. And that's the reality that you are managing day in and day out in India. The last thing I want to say is, the way to go about all of this is to be capability-centric as against credential-centric. So what AI has now done is, it is kind of, or technology in general is done is, it has reduced the information asymmetricity in terms of work that apnas of the world are doing. And I can already see it because Antwalk runs this again and again at different enterprises. We can clearly see that today you can lay out very specific capability at different roles at different levels. And it's no longer a credentialing game. It's no longer a game saying that, hey, I have 6 years of experience in insurance, I should be the best manager you hire. No, if you don't have people-centric skills, the attrition under you is going to be above 50%. Data shows that. So start with capability-centered answers, not a credentialing-centered answer, not a wide brush. Focus on specific role. First line and mid-manager is the right answer. Stay with, do not innovate on the outcome. It has to be revenue, cost, and compliance. And measure the impact in terms of capabilities that were developed pre and post whatever interventions you made. That's what we are seeing in terms of really the rubber hitting the road, making an impact for enterprises.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Priyanka, I think this question has to be reframed for you a little bit.
Yeah.
You come from the education system. So when you think of schools, universities getting ready for this AI wave, where do they get started? What are the disruptions you see? How do they cope up with that?
So the way I look at it is, in our spaces, what we need to look at when we get started is, for example, for a teacher, what is core and what is non-core. So teaching is core. Ensuring that you are facing the students, teaching them what they need to learn is core. There's a lot of admin stuff associated with it, whether students are coming on time or not, or whether all the resources are there or not, how to schedule the classes, etc., which is non-core. How can AI help more and more in non-core things? Because it's not like teachers really enjoy the non-core things. They have to do it because it's part and parcel of the overall outcome. And also to understand, like when we get started, we also have to understand what can AI do and what it can't do. It can definitely provide the knowledge and the facts, but honestly, to begin with, as of now, I think it might be a gifted learner, but it's not a perfect learner. The kind of hallucinations it has, at least in education, a teacher needs to know what mistakes even an AI is making. So you can't just assume because AI has given you that answer, it's perfect. Like you can get your ChatGPT, etc., to give you whatever answers you want after a few prompts, etc. So it's important for a teacher to know where to use AI, where not to use AI, use it for the things which the teacher doesn't want to do on his or her own. So for example, when we run courses, there's a lot of focus on how to create a good lesson plan, how to create assessments, how to analyze assessments to find the personalized gaps for various students, etc. But there's a significant focus on how to manage your class better, how to schedule it better, how to run assessments, etc., which no teachers willingly want to do. They need to do it. And how can they use this toolkit of AI to better do those things?
Thank you, Priyanka. By the way, I just wanted to ask one question, Ashutosh, for you. You said, yes. Joy, yes. The standard deviation of stupidity. That is, I think, a catchphrase I'm going to take away from this conversation, frankly, right? But there's a related question there, which is, there are some tech roles where fundamentally, unless you have a great education, unless you've done a lot of things, you cannot achieve those roles. Do you also see the standard deviation of stupidity helping out, where you find people who can very quickly ramp up and actually get roles which were maybe out of reach? Or do you see the trend going a little different?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, actually. What technology is doing today is, for very long, when the world was a capability-centered people supply chain or a talent supply chain, the world had emission by omission. So basically, everybody you omit, and only then you take few people to give an opportunity. That's how Harvard and everybody else follows, right? Today, what has happened in this whole idea is, there are very generic foundational human skills that are coming into fore. For example, if you look at the hiring pattern of some of the largest sectors in India, again, pharmaceutical, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, even TMT for that matter, technology, lots and lots of people are not even coming from tier 2, they're coming from tier 3 and below. Because those are the people who still have that mindset to go ahead and put those hours, put that effort, and they have that fire in the belly that I'm going to do this, make it happen. And they are really, really putting up a fight right now. I'm increasingly seeing, and then we are close to that number day in and day out, that the kind of talent that is coming from a city like Bhagalpur in Bihar, where I come from, right? It's like a tier 4 city in Bihar, or tier 3 at least. That's significantly increasing, because today, in my generation, when I grew up, somebody in South Bombay, or South Mumbai today, had a much better exposure than what I had growing up in Bhagalpur. I didn't know much about it. I mean, how could I? I mean, the only option I was the Doordarshan TV. Nothing more than that in my 90s. That too, I had power cut for 22 hours in a day for at least 3 days in tandem. So there's hardly that I could watch TV as well. But today, the same Instagram, the same Twitter, the same YouTube, the person in Bhagalpur is watching, which the person in South Bombay is watching. And that is giving them the level field. The differentiation is the fire in their belly. And I can clearly see that out of every 3 jobs that are being offered in India today, 2 of them are going to tier 3 and below. And it's just a matter of time that you will see that impact in mid-layer as well. In 5 years, you will see that impact in first line layer. In 7 to 8 years, you will see that impact in mid-layer. And they're fighting it day in and day out.
Thank you, Joe. I knew you would give that kind of an answer. So I think, thank you for that insight there. One final question, maybe to wrap it all up. As you look at the industries that you're part of, how are you seeing AI disrupt your space? And it ties into the question of how can enterprises or universities or teachers get ready for this disruption. Maybe name 1 or 2, not more than that, because we want to make sure we are within time. 1 or 2 or 3 really critical disruptions that are happening that AI is bringing to your specific domain. And maybe we'll start with you, Priyanka, if that's okay?
Sure. So the way AI is disrupting teaching spaces, when you read the headlines, it says, oh, teaching jobs will go away, AI is there. What the teachers are gradually learning, and there is obviously a long way to go, is AI can be used as a teaching assistant. It's not there to replace them. So a lot of it is mental clarity on it cannot replace you. There are things which it can do better than you, but there are lots and lots of things where it cannot replace you. As I was saying earlier, it is learning. AI models are not perfect. They are learning. And teachers are the workforce or the capability pool which can help that AI learn better. There are many, many companies who are working on AI who are reaching out to us because we have such a large platform for teachers. How do I train my AI models? Because AI models need that continuous input, and when they give out output, you need to review it, give that feedback so that it improves. So basically, it's increasing another pool or another opportunity segment for the teachers to play into. The teachers need not just teach students, they can also teach AI to become better and better for multiple industries. That's how we are looking at it.
And since we got into education, I might maybe jump in as speaker number 2 here. So I think, one perspective I'm going to share here, and if you're from Coursera or Emeritus, this is absolutely not meant to be that my perspective is supposed to be oppositional in some sense. But I do believe that in education and edtech specifically, there is an interesting thought that, we would use AI to become completely personalized at a single, individual level. And I think that thought process is slightly flawed, and I'll explain why I mean that. Fundamentally, if you simplify edtech today, there are sort of 2 different models that exist. One is a completely asynchronous model, where you serve content and very intelligently the user is supposed to engage and then start consuming it. And then there's what I consider, personalized and human-based or mentor-based engagement models, which is entirely different, right? And again, my, if you may, slightly biased view is, when we think of personalized for the one person through AI, we're talking about basically asynchronous models to a great extent. Because fundamentally, you can serve it up in very specific ways. You can cut the algorithm in 1,000 different ways, and AI can absolutely do that for you, right? But eventually, you're fundamentally building a bot that's doing something for you that is going to get you there. And unless you're self-motivated, an async model is going to fail for you, right? So I do think it works. It definitely increases the efficacy of what's already out there. But it's not going to solve the problem, right? So I think for the folks, and I'll give you a slight difference here, the learners that go to a YouTube video or study on their own, they're highly motivated. They're very, very highly motivated. They're going to go figure out what they want to go learn and do that. The folks who come to a Simplilearn are the folks who say, I don't know how to do that. I need a mentor. I need someone to actually walk me through this. And in this space, hyper-personalization has been the norm for a very long time, and it's been very human-driven. So I think it ties into some of the conversations, Priyanka, you were sharing. I do fundamentally believe in the space of hyper-personalized, mentor-driven learning. AI plays the role of an enabler, a co-pilot, as the term was used before. And it's going to make the teachers so much more, capable of delivering very, very personalized experiences. But I don't know when the day comes when a teacher in class is going to be replaced. So I do absolutely agree with Priyanka that that is very, very far away, where the empathy and emotional support, it's going to be very hard to replicate that. So that's my perspective on at least the edtech side of it. Over to you, Joy.
Oh, thank you. No, so for me, there are 2 things. One, with technology, the cost of employees are going up. In a conference like this, today also we see hardly few CHROs coming in. That should start in 2 years. And in 3 years' time, you should have CFOs in the room. CFOs today understand that 60% impact on EBITDA today comes from their people cost. In all of these major industries, people-centric industries that I talked about, whether it is IT services, whether it is healthcare, financial services, all of them. 60% EBITDA impact single-handedly comes from your people getting build versus buy, because buying talent has become very difficult. That's one thing. Second thing, and this is more personal, is I was having a conversation with a very senior client, and we were talking about, what's the best and worst thing about technology. And I will leave you with that thought. Technology is the second best leveler after death. And it's a very interesting perspective that the senior client brought, because death and technology are the only 2 things that gives a paintbrush, largely gives the same thing to everyone if you have the right conditions in your country. Which basically means, in a terms of pandemic, if you have a very good healthcare system, then irrespective of the social strata, the effect will be same. Same when the world is moving to a higher technology, if you have a very good education system, then irrespective of the financial strata, the positive impact of that will be same. So that underlying difference of how that and technology impacts is the kind of ecosystem you have in place. And I just thought there was something I learned from a senior client, and I thought it's worth sharing it.
Wonderful. Final thoughts?
Yeah, so I think few things which are significantly getting disrupted. One is we see almost 400% higher usage of AI tool skill tag in the job posting on Apna. So, and that's across roles, like non-tech roles I'm talking about. Because people want their staff to be aware about these tools and have that intent to use these tools. In business, there are 0 marks for doing the job yourself, right? Like, it's more about getting the work done as fast as you can, and it's not school where you need to do it yourself. So that is one thing we are seeing. Employers across roles are looking for AI tools, not AI coding, right? Because I believe AI is going to take coding to the level that most people will be applying that for their use cases rather than trying to build it. So that is one major change across all industry which is going to come, where people are expected to be leveled up. Second thing I talked about already on the recruiter side, I think recruiter will spend most of the time on the human side of things and not the typical assessment side of things. And the third thing which is fundamentally getting disrupted is personalization you talked about, but personalization in the hiring industry is also getting enabled. What I mean at Apna, what we see is there are 5 companies or 3 companies who are hiring for the same role. Hey, I want a customer success executive, but one serves a product which is worth 500 rupees in a B2C space. One is selling to an enterprise, one is selling to an international customer. Now, everyone is going to post the same exact job profile in terms of all the taxonomy. And what we can do is, based on how recruiter reacts to the profile, we can personalize, hey, and all of them will say, I want person to speak good English, good people skills, but really good English means different for every single person when you talk to them. And what AI can enable you to do is very quickly your models are trained to personalize that experience based on what you are doing. And that is very, very disruptive, where recruiters suddenly start feeling after their first few interactions on the platform, they feel the platform knows you, which is great for any product tech company where the user feels invested now in the data they've given you because it makes their experience significantly better, so the product is stickier. But as an outcome, the time efficiency which it's going to give back to the people is going to be fundamentally different scale.
Thank you, Karan. So maybe to conclude, I think some takeaways here. I think the takeaway from this panel is jobs are not at risk, but you got to upskill and be ready. And I think to take Joy's points here, I think frontline managers and frontline staff, getting them trained and getting them ready, very, very important. And making sure that we look at AI as an enabler versus something that's threatening roles. I think that's the best way to look at it. Thank you so much to the panel for being here and giving your valuable thoughts. Thank you all.
Thank you.